We are 1 week late. We're 1 week late. This is 3 weeks after episode 2. Not 2 weeks. What happened, M.T.S? Well, I delayed it. Why did I delay it? Because I had some shit to work at. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know how videos were going to go down next weekend. I was thinking of reviewing Conway and JID and Freddie. I didn't end up reviewing any of them because my little phone was being garbage, but I got my phone back now, so videos are going to be really easy again. So I'll be putting out a ton more videos now, like multiple this weekend. But I decided today on the podcast I was going to do more topics than I usually do, but they're smaller topics. What I was planning to do was we're going to spend this first part. We're going to talk about the new, we're going to talk about what dropped last weekend. So we're going to talk about first we're going to talk about the singles, specifically the new JID tracks and the Freddie Gibbs and Schoolboy Q track. And then I want to discuss which I'm not going to spend too much time on those. And then I want to discuss the new Conway project, which I don't have much to say on it, but I want to get those things. I'm going to adjust my microphone real quick. Those are things I want to do at the beginning first. And then we're going to get to, after that, after I do all those, we're going to talk about the Weeknd's halftime show that recently went down. And then I want to talk about the 2 new rankings where we're going to be ranking Eminem because one of you guys requested that last time. I promised it. I forgot I was doing it. But in exchange for me forgetting to do it, we're going to do not just an Eminem ranking. We're going to do a ranking of every single possible Eminem project. So not just his albums starting with Infinite to the what was the final album he made? To Music to Be Murdered by Side B. We're also going to be talking about the D12 albums. We're going to talk about Bad Meets Evil, Shady XV, The Re-Up, 8 Mile, all those as well to give you guys an extra episode today. I might even discuss some deluxe packs that are on these albums. I have a lot to say on Eminem because he's the artist I've known the longest. And I've listened to the discography like multiple times. So I have quite the opinion on all these as projects. So I think that'll take a while. And then as a final approach today, we're going to be talking about the new, we're going to rank The Weeknd because that's who I listen to first. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we're first going to go over my recent listens once I can open up my listened account. I forgot that that's how I intro episodes because I didn't do much last week. We're going to talk about what I've listened to recently. I've listened to quite a lot, actually. I think last time I was left with, I'd only heard like the first ASAP Rocky album. And that was I've listened to like 30 maybe albums since then. So I actually I'm signing into my listened account right now. So that's why this is taking so long. It's still not letting me in. I might just try and... here's what I'm actually going to do. I'm actually going to open up my Google Doc that has all my recent listens on it. And then we're going to work with that. So last time I listened to that Long Live ASAP. So since then, I actually panicked that there was going to be a Young Thug, a Slime Language 2 drop. There wasn't. There was just a single. So I listened to Slime Season 3 and Slime Language so I could prepare for that. I really liked both. I didn't find Slime Language very interesting, but I really liked Slime Season 3. That was a great trap project. Long Live ASAP, or Long Last ASAP, I really liked that. I thought it was about as good as Long Live ASAP. Testing was mid for me. I didn't love it. Then I listened to the Anderson .Paak discography, which I really liked. In fact, one of my new favorite R&B discographies. Venice was great. Malibu, I loved Malibu. Malibu and Oxnard, both AA albums. I really loved them. And Ventura was great as well. I listened to Isaiah Rashad's 2 projects. I loved Sylvia Demo and Sun's Tirade. I actually liked Sylvia more. I was surprised for that. I actually thought it was a better project. I listened to Post Malone. I listened to Stoney, Beer Bongs and Bentleys and Hollywood's Bleeding. I did not like Stoney, but I really liked Beer Bongs and Hollywood. Those were both really solid. I then listened to the Lupe Fiasco discography, which I've been meaning to do for a while. To kind of go over that briefly, I really liked Food and Liquor. That was a great album. The Cool was also great. Lasers was not great for me. I didn't love Food and Liquor 2. I thought it was okay. I like Tetsuo in Youth. I really liked that one. And the Drogas albums, I didn't love Drogas Light, but I enjoyed Drogas Wave quite a lot. I also listened to, I'll get to these later, No One Mourns the Wicked and If It Bleeds It Can Be Killed, both by Conway the Machine and Big Ghost Limited. I'll talk about those after this, though. Then I listened to Control, the what's it, the SZA album. I really loved it. That might be one of my new favorite R&B albums. And then I went back through the Weeknd's discography. So I actually didn't go back through this. I hadn't heard House of Balloons, Thursday, Echoes, Kissland, or My Dear Melancholy. I'd heard Beauty Behind the Madness, Starboy, and After Hours, which is what we'll be talking about. We'll be ranking those later, though, so I won't talk about them much. All I can say is I loved it. Loved that discography. And then I listened to Judas and the Black Messiah right before I recorded this. Actually, I'm recording this right after I've recorded my album review on that. So anyway, that's what I've been listening to recently. Now let's get to some singles. First, let's talk about the new Freddie Gibbs. Freddie Gibbs came back. He came back with a new single. I don't know when he's coming back. I would love to see a new Freddie Gibbs album. I do recognize that he's been on quite the grind lately. He's been in a pretty high point in his career. It might be the highest he's ever been. So I would not be surprised if we're hearing a new Freddie Gibbs album in the first quarter of 2021. I would love it. This is a great track, though. I thought Schoolboy Q did great. I really loved the energy of the track. I thought the hook was really catchy and nice. It was a really fun track. It felt like it's some ways it's trying to be dark, but it's trying to be fun. You have this little bunny doing a little gang sign on the front. It's quite the entertaining song. I really loved it. I feel like it really brought out the best in both Freddie and Schoolboy. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's an incredible track, but I quite enjoyed what it had to offer. Then we had 3 new JID songs, which surprised me that they weren't released as one. They were all released as separate singles. We have Clutter, which I thought was good. I would be okay with that being like the intro to the Forever Story. I thought it was okay. I liked the beat. I liked the flows. I wasn't head over heels for it. Bra, though, was quite a great track. Denzel coming in with a great verse. The beat, really love that dark piano beat. The energy JID and Denzel they just bring the best out of each other. This is their second collaboration. I think it's Sirens on Taboo they did together. I really love this as a track. I don't know what it's a remix of, though, but I thought this was just a solid track. And Ballads I really liked, too, with Conway. They both really did great on it. I really like the more horrorcore, kind of dark instrumental. Overall, I didn't love it. I think the one I really loved was Bra, but Ballads and Clutter were both really solid. Ballads I really enjoyed it as a track. So that's what I think on those 4 new singles. There were other things like Up, like the Cardi B song, which I hated. But other than that, there were those are the 4 singles I really enjoyed. Now let's get to the new Conway the Machine project, which has been titled If It Bleeds, It Can Be Killed. This was announced back in February. I don't get what he did here, though, because what he did was it wasn't announced, it wasn't released on Spotify, right? And I don't have a problem with that inherently. I would much rather projects be released on Spotify. But if they can't be released on Spotify, which I would assume that was the case, because the first one, the No One Mourns the Wicked, did get released on Spotify. So it could blow my mind if they couldn't get another Spotify release. And considering the fact that it is Griselda, they aren't like a small company at this point. So I don't know. I did really like it, though, this If It Bleeds, but I was surprised it wasn't on Spotify. I listened to it on Bandcamp because at the time, for some reason, the old phone I was using for a while just wouldn't function with DatPiff, which is what I use usually when I'm streaming albums that are not on Spotify, which is how I will stream the Doc D album. I'll talk about that probably next podcast, which I'll do the next podcast next weekend since I missed a weekend. But anyway, when talking about this new Conway, I really liked it, actually. I still think I liked the No One Mourns for the Wicked more. I felt like I liked this one. I think I don't know the exact runtime, but it was around, shut up computer. It was like 30 so minutes. And the No One Mourns the Wicked was like 20 minutes or something. It was really short, and I really liked it for that. It was just like 9 tracks, 2 of them being like skits. So just killer, no filler. I loved that one so much. I thought Big Ghost did great on that one. I really liked this one too. I just don't think I loved it as much. I felt like at some points a lot of these tracks I'm just never going to think about again. Ones that I really thought about that I really liked, I thought Jay Batters was probably my favorite from this. I really loved that as a track. Kill All Rats was really enjoyable track as well. Ransom with Rome Streets, I really liked that one. Toast, that was really solid for me as well. Son of Kings and Red Beams were also both just great tracks. For a 10-song album, I wasn't in the head over heels for it, but I really enjoyed what it still had to offer. And I just think Conway and Big Ghost are both just really solid artists who really bring out good in each other. I just personally prefer the No One Mourns for the Wicked more. So If It Bleeds, It Can Be Killed by Conway the Machine and Big Coast Limited. How would I rate this? I'm going to go with B+. I don't feel A-, like just great tier is really what I'm going for. B+ seems more solid for me, just like... It was really good. I really enjoyed it, but I don't think there's much I'm going to revisit or replay from it. It was just quite the enjoyable project for me. Conway did it the best he could. Big Ghost did the best he could. I'm very excited for God Doesn't Make Mistakes, or I think that's what it's called, the Conway record, the sequel to From King to a God. I'm very excited for that. I really hope that really just is just a great project because, you know, we need new Griselda. I want to see a new Big Griselda album. I know we're getting new Benny in March. We're getting the Plugs I Met too, and we're getting I know we're getting a new Hitler Wears Hermes from West Side. We're definitely getting new Boldy considering the amount of success he saw in the last couple months, and just because of how great Manger of McNichols was, which I am so embarrassed for calling it Manager on McNichols for so long. I don't know why I called it that, but I'm really excited to hear a new Griselda this year. This was a solid teaser for me. If It Bleeds, It Can Be Killed, B+, quite enjoyed it. Those are all the updates I'm going to go to. Now we're going to get into the Weeknd's halftime show, right? If it's going to let me pause it, because I need to get water right now. Watching the halftime show for me is quite a yearly entertaining experience. I don't do it all the time, but I think as a whole it's just one of those just traditions for me. I generally speaking watch the Super Bowl, whether I like the choices of the NFL or not. I enjoy it as a game. I'm not a big NFL person though. I'm not the type of person who watches games building up to the Super Bowl. I just kind of go in and it's the big event. It's the big event everybody talks about every year. I can't just skip it, even though I physically could and I would be totally okay. As a whole though, I think when it comes down to it, the new this new halftime show made me incredibly excited. And the reason why it made me very excited is because it's new. It's fucking new. Who is it? It's the Weeknd. It's the Weeknd. The Weeknd has returned for another halftime show. How can you not just be, if for anyone who's a fan of the Weeknd, that's just the most exciting thing ever. The Weeknd is one of, if not the best R&B artists in the past 10 years or so. He has done nothing but great tracks. Overall, I think I was really excited to hear this because I think I'm kind of doing something at the same time as talking. That's why I'm really stuttering right now. I was excited to hear this because it's the Weeknd. He's been a big figure in hip hop and just the general culture for a long time. And also on top of that, we had the announcement he put I think $7 million of his own dollars into this. That's exciting because that just shows that he really is dedicated to making this the best halftime show possible. And I'm not sure where I'm trying to find my Eminem ranking so I can do that after this, but I can't find it, so I'll figure that out. I was really excited for this just because I really love The Weeknd as an artist, and I think he just always does his best when he's on a track. So I made me very excited when I heard he was going to do this. Also just because of how great his last year was. So the halftime show, kind of going through everything that really happens in the halftime show. It opens with that little just skit of how do I describe it? It's it shows him stepping out of a car in this Las Vegas set, which obviously it's a pre-recorded video. Then he comes down on strings playing Call Out My Name. Not my favorite Weeknd hit, but it was cool. He starts performing Starboy with the great choir. I love the way the choir looked in the back with those aesthetics. It just was so good for me. I'm actually gonna look up the Weeknd halftime show so I can kind of watch it and go through it at the same time. So I can just kind of discuss it and kind of so I actually have a knowledge of what I'm talking about.
No matter who you voted for, we can all be proud that we live in the third most democratic country.
The National Football League welcomes you to the Pepsi Super Bowl 55.
I really like the way they were incorporating a couple of the tracks here and there. So going into this, we start to start, and I really like that. I also noticed I was watching this on the I thought it was very but whatever, I thought it was really, Starboard's my favorite R&B song ever, so then next he does The Hills. Great. The Hills is one of my favorite Weeknd. It's probably one of his biggest hits. I really love the way the choir was done. As a whole, I think so. Also, I heard the jacket's 44 pounds. Pretty so I'm kind of skipping through this. Then he goes inside after that. So he goes inside in his room, which was the interesting part of the performance for me. I think this is the most meaningful part of it, but I thought it was enjoyable. Sean C made the point that he wished that the lights were kind of flickering. And I agree, but I also kind of don't agree. It feels like if the lights were flickering, it would just be really distracting. It's not that. There's lights in the back. That's problem with them. I like all the guys watching. I thought that was all the best. I really want to be those guys. I'll be quite job to perform.
Welcome to the Disney Bundle, where Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus come to life on all your.
So then he comes out. I think he performs out I Feel Like I'm Alive, which is a really enjoyable thing. Yeah, he does. Tell me what you really like. He performs this. He does really nice. I like those songs. Definitely there's a big say. So there's definitely some big say in the fact that which the Weeknd has a net worth of $150 million. I really enjoy the performance of that. He does Save Your Tears. We actually perform that because it's my favorite Weeknd song. It's not my favorite overall, but it's definitely one of my favorites. That hook, that's so good. It's such a good song. Really inappropriate to it. I feel like he performed that one very nicely. I think after that goes on Gets the Field. No, we actually don't. I skipped it. He does Earned It next. One of my favorite performances because we have the violins, the choir puts in the violins, it's very nice. The Weeknd performs Earned It well. It's just a very classic song. I agree with what John C said though. Having like dancers on stage is very nice, but it wouldn't really work for the kids, because it has to be PG. It would be kind of weird if it was a PG show. As a whole though, most of the songs are okay. So let's not forget that. Performs Earned It. It's quite an entertaining song because it's Earned It. Then I'm getting an ad for Not Can't Escape the Craving. That one ad. You don't consume me! I consume you! Very nicely. It's not the funniest ad I've ever seen. When these big companies make funny ads, I'm happy. Anyway, there's a bunch of masked guys who are stepping in the stomping for my favorite performance. I like it more than it is. Stomping. One of my personal favorite ones just such this whole build up right here. He's walking out. yeah, that was the Super Bowl halftime show with The Weeknd. I loved it. It was so good. I feel like he just brought out so much energy and love. He did so much. I feel like there was so much preparation, heart, and care into this. The Weeknd, one of my favorite R&B artists to ever do it. He just really just worked his ass off to make this just such a solid performance. And overall, it could have been weak. It could have just been him coming out and singing some songs for his fans, dancing around a bit. But he made it like one of the best halftime shows I've ever seen. Not the best. I don't agree with that. I still think that guys like Prince and Michael Jackson will always have the best. But as a whole, Weeknd halftime show, I loved it. Thought it was a great performance. And hey, actually, it inspired me to go back and listen to all the Weeknd projects I hadn't heard yet. So overall, Weeknd's halftime show, Super Bowl, what LV? I don't know what that is. It's 50-something. As a whole, the results of the game, I didn't have much to say. I'm going to get hate for this. Actually, I can only get hate for this who I am because I'm a Coloradoan. I wanted the Bucks to win. And I'm probably because I'm the only – I mean, as a Coloradoan, I don't like Tom Brady just because I'm just breaking this down, I think he's one of the best. He might arguably be the best football player to ever do it. Fact remains, he's won 7 Super Bowls. That's a fact. You can't deny it. I do agree he deflated the balls in the Broncos game, but he's still Tom Brady. He still won 7. That's quite an achievement. As a whole, the game, I wasn't too upset about the Bucs winning. I didn't really have the biggest care. I understand why my state was really big on the Chiefs winning, right? Because Kansas, Colorado, neighbor states, and also just we don't like Tom Brady, so we just don't want him to win. But honestly, I kind of wasn't surprised the Bucs won. Whenever Tom Brady's on a team now, I'm going to predict that team to win. I'm really interested to see how this next season of the NFL goes. I also want to know how that actual stadium was gone. Apparently, there were 25,000 people and 35,000 cardboard cutouts. So I don't know. Quite entertaining. I didn't actually watch the full game, but I just knew the results. I watched some clips of it. Mainly, I just watched the halftime show. But yeah, fun game and fun overall halftime show. The ads, usually I talk about the movie ads there. There weren't a ton that were interesting, though. Hobbs and Shaw got a second ad. That's interesting. Anyway, what do you guys think on the Weeknd's halftime show? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's get to my next topic, which is we're going to rank all, I think, 17 or 18 Eminem albums. Let's do this. Eminem. M-fucking-M. My all-time favorite MC. If you guys watch the channel, I've said that once or twice here. Eminem is my all-time favorite, and it's for a lot of reasons, but the main reason is because his music has impacted me as a person the most. He's the guy who really introduced me to rap, but not only that, he's the first guy I was really obsessed with in just music in general. I first heard The Real Slim Shady on the radio when I was like not even close to 15. When I was like 12, I heard it on the radio, and I was like, that's the coolest song I've ever heard. And I heard of Eminem prior to that, and I went home and I listened to that song like 50 times. By the end of 2017, I had heard every Eminem album multiple times. I loved him. He was my favorite artist ever. And then then over the course of the years, in 2018, I got more into movies, so I stopped really caring about it. But I got back into him with Kamikaze. Then I didn't actually care for Revival when that dropped, which was weird because that came out the year I was at my peak Eminem fandom. And then in 2019, I didn't really care about him, but in 2020, I got into rap again, and that's why I'm doing a whole channel now. And around when Music to Be Murdered By came out, that's kind of what flung me back. And I actually, that album I could credit for a lot of my reinterest in rap. But as a whole, he has a very long discography, and the only artist I think I could claim I've heard every possible album from. There are a couple things. There are some like B-side bootleg albums like Straight from the Lab that I haven't heard, or the Get the Guns, but a lot of those are just tracks, D12 tracks and feature tracks, so they're not actually Eminem songs, or they're not album songs, so I haven't heard those. I might one day just make a goal and listen to all those. But so what I'm counting is I'm counting 18 albums. Now there are not 18 solo Eminem albums. I'm pretty sure if we're counting side B, there's only, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are about, I think, 12 Eminem albums, besides if we're counting side B. But I'm going to be also including the D12 albums, Bad Meets Evil, and collaborative efforts. So collaborative efforts as in compilation albums. Not compilation, more like how do I say this? Like how do I word this? It's like various artists albums, projects like that. Okay, let's go. Starting with my number 18 spot, my 18th, my worst Eminem project ever is Encore, and I will always defend that. This is not the most popular opinion. I think the general opinion by most rap fans is Revival, and I'll get to that one soon. I hate Revival, but nothing's gonna top Encore for me. Nothing's gonna. I don't think Eminem could ever, if he ever beats the level of shittiness that album was, then he greatly failed. Encore is one of the worst albums I've heard ever, to be honest. And it's not okay. Maybe not one of the worst, but one of the things about this album that has always weirded me out is that the first like 5 songs are really solid. 5, actually, maybe not really all 5. Evil Ease is a pretty shitty intro, but Never Enough, Yellow Brick Road, Like Toy Soldiers, Mosh, that's a great 4-track run. I really like all 4 of those tracks. But then we go into track number 7, Puke, and then basically from Puke, My First Single, Paul Skit, Rain Man, Big Weenie, M Calls Paul, it's all just garbage. And then you have like a hint of light with Just Lose It. Then it gets bad with Ass Like That, Spend Some Time. Mockingbird's good, and Crazy in Love isn't good. One Shot, Two Shots, fun. And then you have the ending, which is okay. As a whole, though, it's just such a messy album in quality. I don't know if I know many albums that have heights like Toy Soldiers and Mockingbird, some of the best songs Eminem's ever made, to My First Single, Rain Man, and Big Weenie, some of the worst songs I've ever heard. This album has so much of the worst music I've ever heard, just some of the rapping, the flows, the just delivery, it's so fucking retarded. It's so bad. Eminem just completely failed when making this one. I know he was heavy into drugs at the time, but no, fuck this album. It's terrible. I don't have much nice. There are good tracks on Encore, I will admit that. But to be honest, there's only like my third favorite track from this is Never Enough, and I don't love Never Enough. So there's really only 2 songs from this I love. The rest of it, though, besides like, let's say, the tracks I don't hate on this, Never Enough, Yellow Brick Road, Like Toy Soldiers, I guess Mosh, Mockingbird, Just Lose It, and One Shot, Two Shot, and the Encore. Everything else can go to hell. My number 17 spot is, here's your guys' 17 spot probably. It's Revival. This album sucks. We all kind of agree on that. Revival is one of the biggest schmans. That's not a fucking word. It's one of the biggest schlock albums of the decade. This is such a detriment to the ear. And okay, kind of going through what this album just fucking does. It's just so, it's messy. That's the first thing. It's messy and inconsistent. It's like he didn't know what he wanted to do, so he just kind of did everything he's done over the past couple of years. So it feels like a messy, sloppy, and like parody almost of like the Marshall Mathers LP2 and Recovery and Relapse. There are gems here and there. I like Walk on Water. I think that's an underrated intro. I like River. I think that's a solid track. I think Tragic Endings has its moments. I think Framed is kind of fun. The Castle in a Rose is one of the best Eminem outros ever. But everything else, though, just it's so bad to me. It's just so how do I word it? It's just so like grandpa rap. Some of these I don't know why Rick Rubin is so big on producing this, but it's terrible. Some of the political tracks like Untouchable and Like Home. Oh my God, they're so embarrassing. Some of these, and there's also just there's so many like relationship cuts on this, right? Like there's Tragic Endings, there's Need Me, there's Bad Husband, which has one of the worst hooks I've ever heard in my life. There's even River, and in some aspects is kind of a relationship song. There's like In Your Head, that's not really a relationship song. But as a whole, these abusive relationship cuts that are about Kim are the most annoying thing Eminem has in his career. He doesn't stop doing them. Even on the side B, they're there. They're so I don't know why he keeps doing them. But as a whole, this album just has the worst of it. Especially that Bad Husband hook. Oh my God. This is an embarrassment of an album. It's a total backfire. I could honestly maybe one day see this being my worst and could go down to a D+. Fuck this album. It's terrible. Number 16 is The Re-Up. I don't really like The Re-Up either. I'll tell you when I don't dislike these albums anymore. We go to Re-Up as the compilation effort he did a couple back in, I think, like 05. It was everyone on Shady Records at the time. Now, everyone at Shady Records at the time, this was like the only time when Shady Records really had anything to offer. We have the label had guys like Obi Trice, Cassius, Stat Quo. You got 50 Cent. That was pretty big. You had obviously Eminem. You had D12. You had those guys. But as a whole, the thing with the whole Shady is that basically after the re-up, everything just went to hell and everybody started leaving. Now the label's probably one of the most dead labels in hip-hop. Besides Eminem, I can't name many people from the roster. There are people who were on the roster, like, that were pretty big that I know, like Yellow Wolf. I don't think Anderson .Paak was ever on the official roster, but he's on the he's on Dre's Aftermath roster. He's one of the only people there. But as a whole, it's like nobody is on Shady anymore, so we can never do another re-up. He kind of did one, and it was fun. But as a whole, this re-up is just, it's such a dead album to me. I like moments here and there. It's one of those albums that just like one track could be great, the next one could suck. You Don't Know, solid. Trapped. No Apologies is one of the best Eminem songs. I can't say it's not. The Cry Now, the Shady remix, I quite liked that one. Oh, Bobby Creekwater is also a guy at this label. There are ups here and there, but just as a whole, there's so many skips across it, like Murder, the Bizarre song, what the fuck? And like Jimmy Crack Corn might be one of the worst Eminem songs ever. That's like such an embarrassing song. It's such a messy album. I feel like Eminem as an artist hit an all-time low in 2005 because or 2006 actually, because what he was doing is he was just delivering his worst beats, his worst rhymes, his worst everything. It was just such a dead album to me. They did a much better. There were two other Eminem compilations that were much better than the re-up. This was not great. Next at 15 we have Relapse. This is my most mixed Eminem album. This is the only, from this I don't hate the rest of these albums. But this is the most I've ever been on an Eminem album because I generally feel pretty mid on it as a whole. I don't dislike it, but I don't really like it. I think there's a lot of good elements to it, but I think there's a lot of bad elements. It's an album that has, like, conceptually I like it. Production-wise, it's all produced by Dre. It's fantastic. But if it weren't for the fucking accents, it's all the accents. That's literally the thing this album has bad to it. And actually, in some essence, the only two issues I have with Relapse is I don't think it needed to, as a whole, if you count both the refill and the original, it's like, God knows. How long is it? It would be like 2 hours long and like 29 songs. So basically a double LP. Like basically Speaker Box to Love Below and All Eyes on Me length for no reason. And my other problem with it is the accents. Other than that, though, this album is actually like has so much I like about it. It just has so much I don't. Tracks like Deja Vu, one of my favorite drug songs in hip hop. Beautiful, Crack a Bottle, Stay Wide Awake, Old Time's Sake, Bagpipes from Baghdad. I don't like the voice, but I really, really love that beat. I also have to mention that Insane is the grossest song I've ever heard. What the fuck, that song. But as a whole, this album just conceptually I like it. I completely understand why it's a cult classic. It's one of those albums that just I understand why everybody likes it, but I just don't. I just feel like it's just really mid for me. And as a whole, Eminem, he just has better. It's not the worst, though. I can't say that. Number 14, I have Infinite. I'll be pretty brief with Infinite. I haven't listened to this album in quite some time, so I should probably give it another listen. For me, though, I'd say it's okay. It's not great, but I like some of it. I like some of the tracks like 313, the title track, Open Mic. But I feel like in a lot of ways it was underproduced, and as a whole, when it comes down to it, it's just an album that feels like Eminem, like, he could have done, he was kind of the best he could do with his environment. As a whole, it's just not his best. I like a lot of the rhyming, though. I actually think there's definitely a lot. There's kind of some cool, like you can see some Illmatic inspiration in it. It's just kind of, it's just made by a low budget person, so it's not great. It's not bad. It's not terrible, but I just don't love it. It definitely doesn't have the most revisitable Eminem moments for it. The only song I have from it that I revisit often is the Infinite remix, which isn't really from it. So I don't know much to say on it. Most people don't talk about this album when we talk about Eminem because it's not really it kind of comes across like an old mixtape, you know. 13, I have a non-Eminem album technically, but I'm counting it as an Eminem album because I've heard it and I want to make this an epic breaking. D12's Devil's Night. Both D12 albums I like. I like this album. Do I love it? No. I think it's an album that there's really good tracks. There's really bad tracks. In the bad sense, we have I never really liked the Nasty Mind. That song sucks. American Psycho has a great beat, but Eminem fucking butchered it. That hook was so bad. But as a whole, there are actually some really kind of fun moments on this. I kind of like how it has another public service announcement as the intro. And as a whole, tracks like It Ain't Nothing But Music, Fight Music, that's a great song. Purple Pills, That's How People, Pimp Like Me, Devil's Night, and even Girls. They're fun tracks. What can I say? Are they amazing? No. Is there a lot of mid tracks from this? Yeah, but as a whole, I do quite enjoy this as a track. I can't say I never have enjoyed Devil's Night as an album. It's not great though, and definitely D12 had better up their sleeve in later years. 12, I have another more recent album for him. I have Kamikaze. I really loved this album when I first heard it. I've kind of gone back and thought, well, I don't love it. I like it, but if we're talking about it as an album, it definitely isn't, perfect. Issues with it, I think there are a lot of mid tracks. I don't like Normal, I don't like Nice Guy, and I like Good Guy. I don't love it though. I don't like Venom. But other than those ones, there's a lot I really like about this as a project. It definitely feels like the way I always saw Kamikaze is I felt like it was like Eminem just for one album was just going to come back and just kind of kick the competition. He was just going to come back, and this album is streamed like hell. Like, oh my god, the least streamed song is is Nice Guy with 71 million streams. That's crazy. But as a whole, when it comes down to it, I think the whole thing with Kamikaze is that it's good, but it's just like it could have used more work. I actually would have liked this releasing in 2019 if it just had more work on it. Lyrically, it was more dense, and it didn't feel less like catch up for him. It feels like this album was kind of his just way to get back on top after Revival, which is good, but like he could have made something more out of it he could just come back on top after Revival. I liked it as an angry response, and I think some of the angry verses on this, like The Ringer and The Greatest, work great. But I think when it comes down to it, if he spent more months on this, he could have made it like 15 tracks. He could have put more emotion into this. He couldn't have made it nearly as corny. He could have just made him more like emotionally just better album, and it would have had the same effect of putting him back on top. But for some reason, he went for this. It's still a good album. I just think it's not his proudest moment. I like it. I still enjoy it. I think there's a lot of bangers from it as a whole. Number 11, I have D12 World. I put this above Kamikaze just because it doesn't have Nice Guy on it. It doesn't have all great tracks, but D12 World is the best we ever heard D12. Especially on tracks like American Psycho, American Psycho 2, which might be my favorite D12 song. That's a good song. Also, other tracks like Get My Gun, How Come, My Band, Loyalty, Get Up, Bitch, 40 Ounce. Oh, 40 Ounce is a banger, man. Good Die Young, that's a really great track there. There's so many just bangers and great tracks across this album. But I do have to admit, I do think there are issues with D12 World. I don't love some of the tracks, like Just Like You, I was never really big on. You Are the One, I thought was kind of annoying. But overall, it's the best we're ever going to hear D12. Is it perfect? No. But it is enjoyable, and it does have the best Bizarre we'll ever hear, which isn't good because Bizarre fucking sucks, but it's not bad. It's not a bad album. It's good. I'd say it's good. I think it's B+ good. At my number 10 spot, I have Music to Be Murdered by Side B. I specifically have Side B here. I really like this as a project. The reason, but I have pretty similar verdicts on Side A and Side B. Side B for me was really good. I felt like he did do a good job of taking the success he had off Kamikaze and kind of going forward with that. Is it perfect? No. Are there some misses across the track list? Yeah, I never loved Marsh, or what was it, The Farewell. I never liked Ya Ya, which is crazy considering that it's Black Thought and Q-Tip. But basically, the lead rappers from A Tribe Called Quest and The Roots. I never loved it. Also, Royce da 5'9", who's amazing. We all love Royce. But those tracks are the only ones I didn't really love. There's a couple others that were just kind of good for me, like Marsh, Stepdad, In Too Deep. I felt like there were just a couple tracks that I've never revisited on this. But Lock It Up, I Will, You Gonna Learn, Premonition are all great. And also Godzilla, Darkness, and Leaving Heaven might be the best 3-track run of 2020. All 3 tracks are amazing. Darkness and Leaving Heaven specifically are both some of my favorite Eminem songs ever. Darkness is a great song. He tells such a beautiful story there. And Leaving Heaven is one of the most... you should go watch my top 50 favorite songs of 2020 if you want to hear my full opinion on Leaving Heaven. And Darkness, actually. They both made it pretty high on the list. So yeah, I liked Music to Be Murdered by Side A. Was I head over heels for it? No, but I saw it kind of as my favorite rapper whom doesn't really need to prove anything anymore, just being himself for an hour. It was enjoyable. That's how I felt about Side B as well, which is my 9th spot. I put Side B above it because I feel like I just like it more as a project. I feel like it's just shorter. It's more condensed down. There's less misses across it for me. There are still a couple moments here where I'm just not big on it, but I still like it. I've reviewed this project quite a lot, so I don't have much to say on that. Alfred's Theme, Guns Blazing, Nat, and Discombobulated are 4 great tracks. Specifically Discombobulated. Even the people who don't like the album love Discombobulated. Guns Blazing got me super excited for that new Dre album. I'm going to talk about for Alfred's Theme. That's one of my favorite Eminem samples ever. He killed that. That was great. Higher also. I should mention Higher. I love that song. As a whole, though, when we're talking about misses on this track list, there's just less for me. I wasn't big on These Demons or Killer, and I wasn't big on Black Magic, but those 3 are the only ones I really wasn't big on, and they're all, honestly, all 3 of those are kind of on par with the mid part of the first side with In Too Deep and like No Regrets. They're on par with those guys. So what can I say? I quite enjoyed Side B. I really enjoyed it. I felt like as a Side B, as just a deluxe pack, I feel like he did what he needed to do. It wasn't perfect, but I liked it. All of you hating on it, fuck you. I'm kidding. I'm not going to say that. At my number 8 spot, I have Hell the Sequel. This is the Royce da 5'9" Eminem collab, which is technically an EP. Like a 46-minute EP, which I don't know why people do that. But we have 11 tracks here, and I really like all of them. I never was big on A Kiss. I never loved that one. But I really like this as a collab album. I feel like in a great way they really work off each other, and they really balance off each other. Really, there's a lot of great chemistry on tracks like Fast Lane, Above the Law, and Reunion, and Welcome to Hell. Welcome to Hell, I love the last verse on that one. They like trade bars really quickly. It's great. Take For Me. Also, Loud Noises being an important track for Slaughterhouse, being like a big track for them. Slaughterhouse, their first big thing with Eminem was Session 1 from Recovery. But as a whole, it's an enjoyable project. I do like, by the way, I like Lighters. I like that. I like the Bruno Mars part. Echo as well. That was a solid track. As a whole, though, wow, is it like perfect? Nah. Is it like not like one of the best albums I've ever heard? Of course it's not. It's not perfect, but I enjoyed it. I think they brought great chemistry out of each other, and it doesn't feel like it really needed to be anything more than just a fun, enjoyable project for like 40 minutes. It's enjoyable. I like it. 7, I have the Shady XV. This is the most recent compilation project he did. I want to first ask, though, what the fuck is up with the second disc there? It's all, like, we have I Get Money by 50 Cent, which is on Curtis. Purple Pills by D12, which is on Devil's Night. Lose Yourself, like Hammer Dance, Pimp. Why does the side B exist? It makes no sense. It's so pointless. It's not pointless in the sense that the tracks are skippable. They're just from other albums. Like, why is Wanksta on it? Why is Into Club on it? Why is Fight Music on it? I don't get it. I don't know why the side B was made. I don't think there's any original tracks off the whole side B. But nonetheless, it's not bad, I also do notice that technically the most streamed song on the whole project as a whole then is Lose Yourself, which has 1 billion streams. So yeah, but side A, though, we're talking the original content on this. It's great. I love the intro with Eminem that rock instrumental really works well. Psychopath Killer is a banger. It is a great song with Slaughterhouse, Yellow and Eminem. They all do so well in it. I love Vegas. Vegas is probably my most played song from this. Just that Eminem verse, just the way he works the beat and just gets more angry as it goes. Oh, I love it so much. Guts Over Fear was, okay, that's a mid-track for me. I like Bane. Fine Line is great. I love Fine Line. And Detroit vs. Everybody might be my all-time favorite collaborative track. Monster by Kanye is actually my favorite, but second would be Detroit vs. Everybody. That just, everybody kills it. Royce, Sean, Danny, they all did great. As a whole, though, for another double LP, Shady album, Shady XV was a big improvement off of the re-up. This definitely was a lot better for me, but I don't think they're ever going to make another one. I quite liked it, though. I thought this was a solid project. It wasn't the best phase for Eminem, though. The thing that really saves his tracks there are just the beats. And then my number six spot, I think we're at 6, right? Yeah, we're at 6. We're getting to the top, guys. My number 6 is Recovery. One of the most divisive Eminem albums ever. This album has people split because people don't like the pop sound to it. People don't like the, the kind of more like soft sound to it. Even though it's one of the most intense albums, like he yells so much on it. My opinions on Recovery, I quite like it. I think there's a lot of really great tracks on this. I actually do think track list wise, it has a terrible track list like this. It makes no sense. They're all discombobulated, stupid. But as a whole, though, I think this was a massive improvement off Relapse. I thought it really brought him back to life for me. There's a ton of just solid tracks on this where just he brings out a lot of just emotional energy. Obviously, like, I like Not Afraid, despite how big it is as a song. I really like it. Love the Way You Lie. I like that one too. No Love with Lil Wayne, the best Lil Wayne performance in his whole career. Okay, actually, maybe the 6 foot, 7 foot verse one's better, but oh my god, that verse is so good. And Eminem's verse too killed it. As a whole, though, there's a lot of tracks on this that just, they work for me. There's some that don't really. I think one of my issues that came with Recovery is there are a couple ones where cheesy, but mainly it's just he got so angry at some points. And I like angry Eminem, but not to the point where it's obnoxious. It's some tracks are just him just yelling, and it's just, it's not even like fun anymore. Like Cold Wind Blows, he's what the fuck is he doing? And Won't Back Down, he's just going too much. And that I will once mention though, White Trash Party's most underrated Eminem song ever. That first verse was smooth as hell. Anyway, as a whole though, Recovery's a good album. It's not a masterpiece, but I think it's underrated in a lot of aspects. I don't think it gets the credit it deserves. My number 5 is the Marshall Mathers LP2. The album that came right after this one. I felt like this is the best newer Eminem album for me. After this, we go to the early 2000s for the last 4. The Marshall Mathers LP2 is a solid album, and it's solid for a lot of reasons. Number 1, in terms of what he had to say, he had a lot to say on this project. The best intro Eminem's ever had is Bad Guy, just saying. But there's a lot of tracks that just have a lot of density and themes for them. And as a whole, I think as a sequel to the Marshall Mathers LP2, it actually has its own voice very nicely. It doesn't feel like he's trying to redo the Marshall Mathers LP. It feels like he's really trying to continue the Marshall Mathers LP. With tracks that don't sound like they belong on the Marshall Mathers LP, but they still stick with the theme of it. It's not nearly lyrically as intense as the Marshall Mathers LP. In general, it's not nearly as good, but I still really think this was a massive improvement for him. There's a ton of tracks here I just think are just fantastic. Legacy, Rap God was my favorite song for quite a long time, and I have the whole thing memorized. Like, I know that song like it's my fucking child. That song is so familiar to me. Bad Guy is one of my favorite Eminem songs as well. That's such a great story track. Rhyme or Reason. Brainless is a good song. Monsters sucks. I don't like Monster. Love Game with Kendrick. All solid stuff here. This is an album that, while it's not like perfect, and I do think Stronger Than I Was is quite the bad song. What can I say? I think this was a really solid Eminem album, and I think this was a big improvement for him. And it really showed he had really something to say. And a lot of people call this one of the best albums of the decade. I can't deny it. It's one of my favorite A-minuses ever. I would like to talk about this deluxe, though, because it's not great. I like it, actually. I do like some of the cuts here. It's definitely a deluxe. Baby, Groundhog Day, and Wicked Ways are all okay for me. Beautiful Pain is probably the best Sia Eminem collab, but I never really loved Sia Eminem collabs. And then the Desperation, the Jamie and Common song. The thing I don't like about Desperation is I feel like the hook by Jamie was so good. Like, oh my god, I love that hook. but Eminem just didn't fucking care with the verse. He just sucks on the verses. So this could have been a great song, but Eminem butchered it. So yeah, I think Marshmallow's LP 2 is the fifth best Eminem album. My number 4 is 8 Mile. This is my fourth. I personally love 8 Mile. Here's some of the reasons why. Actually, the main reason why I love 8 Mile so much is because of the 3 Eminem songs on it. I mean, Lose Yourself, 8 Mile, and Rabbit Run. Well, Lose Yourself is my favorite song. I'll just get that out of the way. This is my favorite song ever. It's perfect, literally in every aspect. I love it so much. I'd also say the song 8 Mile is arguably perfect as well. And I'd also maybe say Rabbit Run is also quite perfect. And on top of that, tracks like Place, and the other non-Eminem songs like 8 Miles and Runnin', You Wanna Be Me, Wangsta, Places to Go, Rap Game. There's so many bangers on this track list. It's one of my favorite collab albums ever because I feel like everybody just did their best on this to just really bring out the best of it. Rakim, the Gangstar Battle. I love that track. As a whole, I just think this was a great, like, what can I say? It was just a great collaborative, just compilation project. Nobody seemed to really not like care on it. Everybody really gave it their all. Yeah, I think this is one of my favorite. This is probably my favorite all-time collab project. I really love it. 8 Mile is a great album. What can I say? Please go listen to it. It is some solid music. But we're going in my top 3 now. All our Eminem albums here. All actually released in the order I'm going to talk about them. My number 3 is the Slim Shady LP, the commercial debut Eminem album. Because if I call it the debut, it's kind of like calling Good Kid, Mad City Kendrick's debut. And if somebody called Good Kid, Mad City Kendrick's debut, I'd be pissed. I love the Slim Shady LP. This was a great just introduction for him to the world. So many great tracks in this, like My Name Is, 97 Bonnie and Clyde, Role Model, Rock Bottom. He really just had a great sound on this as well. It was unlike anything you'd heard at the time, all right? White boy that you were supposed to take seriously, unheard of. Like, nobody cared about white guys in rap until this album. This album just shook the world up, but I don't have much to say on it because I just think everything I love about this album is just better in my number 2 and number 1. This is a solid album. I think it's a great 99 album, and I really love what he did here. It was a great way to get his voice heard by the world. My number 2, though, would be the Marshall Mathers LP. That's not the most popular opinion. Usually that's number 1. It is definitely more influential than my number 1, but I don't like it more. This is a perfect album. This is in my A+ club. Actually, next time you watch one of my videos, my recorded videos, like camera recorded, look behind me and you can see this trilogy of Eminem albums. You can see the Slim Shady LP, the Marshall Mathers LP, and the Eminem Show all lined up in a row. They're on my wall. It's my favorite 3-album run ever. Okay, actually, no, the Section 80 through To Pimp a Butterfly is better, but it's still a great 3-album run. The Marshall Mathers LP is just a perfect album to me. It's just, he just is so unapologetic. The perfect way to describe this album is just compare the public service announcements, and you can totally see the contrast between this and the Slim Shady LP. The amount of lyrics from this that just, oh my god, they're so just raunchy and go so far. Like, oh my god, I'm not even gonna quote it. This is still the most like messed up album I've ever heard, and I've heard 350 albums, and this is the second album I ever heard. This album just has and also top of just so many great beats and tracks on it. Some of the, easily the best, some of the best delivery Eminem's ever had. Some tracks like The Real Slim Shady, The Way I Am, and Stand being 3 of my favorite songs ever, and Rug Ballad. As a whole, though, just, oh my god, it's such a perfect album. If you haven't heard the Marshall Mathers LP, you are doing yourself a disservice. It is a perfect album. I love it so much, and it is really in it. It's really, it's okay, if you don't like really, like, extreme lyrics, like about, like, rape and murder, please don't listen to this album. I advise you against that one. Especially the song I'm Back. Specifically, like, the last verse. Oh my god, the first line of that last verse and the last line of that last verse are arguably the worst Eminem lyrics ever. And I don't mean in worst in terms of, like, quality. I just mean in terms of, like, just go listen to them. They're so bad. Yeah, as a whole, the Marshall Mathers LP, though, perfect album. My number 1, though, what can I say? It's the Eminem Show. But behind My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, To Pimp a Butterfly, and Illmatic, the Eminem Show is my favorite album. And it was my favorite album for quite some time. I just think this is such a good album. In terms of delivery and production, it's Eminem's peak. So easily his best beats ever are on this, and on top of that, just his just aggressive delivery on every track. It's just the best it's ever been. Some tracks they're just perfect. They're just freaking perfect. And I don't know really how to say, just the Eminem Show is such a solid album. And as a whole, I don't know how to say it. I just love this album. It doesn't feel like there's an emotional like punch to this album, right? It's not like he's trying to really get at your emotional strings, but that's not the point. The point more of this album is that you really like just feel what he's trying to say. There's a lot of themes on every track. It's just a perfect album to me. It's a top 5 album ever for me. The Eminem Show is my favorite Eminem album. What can I say? And I love it to my grave. But what are your guys' ranking of all 18 of those albums? That was a long ranking. I didn't expect that to take that long. We've been going now for nearly an hour, and I still have to rank The Weeknd. What do you guys think on that ranking? I don't really have anything else to say. I like Eminem. He's my favorite rapper. Let's go on to the second ranking, which will be a lot shorter, a lot more brief. The Weeknd. Okay, we're back. I'm pretty sure The Weeknd and Eminem have collabed in the past. Go listen to the Hills remixes if you don't believe me. The Weeknd has been a pretty relevant artist this week. In fact, he's been relevant for like 2 years now, but he's been relevant mainly because of his halftime show. He got a lot of attention from that. He has 70 million monthly listeners on Spotify right now, the biggest number I've ever seen, being on Spotify since 2016. So it was very cool actually seeing those big numbers for him. I really love The Weeknd. I was really excited to see that. And I wanted to rank all 8 of his projects. So technically speaking, there are 4 albums, but there's 3 mixtapes and there's an EP. So I'm counting all those. So today we're just doing big rankings of artists I don't need to do big rankings for. But we'll go through all 8 of his projects. I'm not going to talk about Trilogy. I'm just going to talk about Thursday, Echoes of Silence, and House of Balloons separately, because that's how I see them. I listen to them as 3 separate mixtapes, not as one big thing. That's just how I'm going to do it. So we'll start number 8 and we'll go up. So my number 8 favorite Weeknd album is Thursday, the mixtape. Maybe I need to re-listen to this more. I don't know. I just felt like this felt like House of Balloons B-sides for like an hour. This is a great example of an album that just has so many songs that were way too long, and I just felt like there were so many moments on this where it just felt like he didn't need to go so long. It's not bad. It's not great. It just felt like a lamer version of House of Balloons, and it could have been a lot better for me. I still don't dislike it though. It's more just B, mid, okay for me. I didn't love it, but I didn't dislike it. Don't get me wrong. I think the cover is interesting, though. It was an interesting cover. My number 7, I have Kissland. This is probably the most overlooked Weeknd project just because people don't care about it. Sorry. Personally, as a debut project, yeah, I'd agree it is quite the letdown. I'm not saying it's bad, because it's not bad. It's just like, okay, The Weeknd had been, the 3 mixtapes were huge, and then he came out with this Kissland, and it was his big debut, and it just was kind of mid for him. It wasn't bad. It was just like, there's so many, I don't revisit anything from this, to be honest. Live For is a good track. I just don't revisit it very often. As a whole, though, for me, it kind of felt like the 4th Trilogy mixtape, and that wasn't a good thing, because it just felt like just a lamer version of the Trilogy mixtapes. It didn't feel like an epic debut. It just felt like a higher budget version of the House of Balloons, and just a worse version in general overall. And a lot of the songs on this early Weeknd, my issue with it was I felt like up until Beauty Behind the Madness, some of his songs they were just so long. Like for some reason he felt like the songs need to be 6 minutes each, and they don't. They just really don't. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. Number 6, I have My Dear Melancholy. EP from a couple of years ago. I like it quite a lot. I do just feel like I will mention I really like the production. I really like this is all handled. But I just kind of always felt like I didn't really know why he didn't just make a full album. And I'm not saying like this should have been just like a full album was so good. What I'm thinking is I'm like, it just feels kind of pointless now. It's just some EP he threw out. And I don't really think there's many tracks to revisit very often. Even though Call Out My Name's a big Weeknd song, I'm just not head over heels for it as a song. I just didn't love it. I like it as an EP. I think it's a solid EP, but I'm just not head over heels for it, you know. My number 5, I have Echoes of Silence, the 3rd mixtape he made. I quite like this as a mixtape, though this was a big improvement off Thursday. Thematically, conceptually, it's a little bit better. There's a lot more. It feels like there's a lot more point to it. I don't love it, but I do quite enjoy it as a mixtape. I do feel like it still has some of the issues of Thursday, too long, songs being too long, somewhat feeling pointless, but still, Echoes of Silence was a solid mixtape, and I still really liked what he was going for, and as a whole, it was solid. My number 4 is House of Balloons. This is the first trilogy mixtape. I really like this. I do feel like it's not. I feel like the second half is a lot worse than the first half, but that first half is really great. He has I just really love the energy and the whole. How do I describe it? It's just the way he just constructed the whole first half. He just did it very nicely. Some of my favorite Weeknd songs, like Wicked Games, House of Balloons, man, also great. And as a whole, just as a project, the House of Balloons is just fun for me. I do feel like a couple towards the end, though, there were just a couple songs that they just overreached for me. They just didn't need to be so long. My number 3, I have Beauty Behind the Madness by all these are by The Weeknd. This is the first Weeknd album I heard. I actually heard this song a couple years ago. I really loved it when I first heard it. I really love it now. I actually moved it down to a B+ at a time. I don't know why I did that. I moved it back up to an A- actually because I really liked it upon re-listen. I feel like he really got to a new sound in this. He got just to a new plane. He improved off Kissland by just really committing to a new sound, making an album that just felt very like just bangers, kind of straight. There's so many hits from this album. It's insane. And as a whole, I just really enjoy it for it being that. I think his hairstyle, palm tree hairstyle, is whack as hell. But I just like what he did here. And I thought this was definitely an improvement over the Kissland. This is just a big, better moment for him. My number 2, I have Starboy. When I first heard Starboy, I wasn't big on it. Upon rethought, I re-rated it and I decided to give it a solid I gave it an A- upon re-listen because I was very So first time I listened to it, I didn't finish it. I didn't really like it. And then eventually I ran back and I moved it to a B+. And then I re-listened to it this week and I realized I love it. So I moved it to an A-. This album is straight bangers. And I mean 18 bangers. Like every song is just energetic, fun, exciting. There's not too many mellow, depressing songs like Beauty Behind the Madness had. There's a lot of songs that just feel so just like upbeat, aggressive. Tracks like Reminder, the title track, like I mentioned earlier, my favorite R&B song ever, False Alarm, just so many fun songs that came across the track list. And while it wasn't perfect, I just think this was quite a fun album. It's just really fun to listen for me. It didn't really feel like it was an hour and 8 minutes. It truthfully felt like it was like 30 minutes. I really enjoyed what he did with this one. And it could have been like another mid. I'm happy he also switched up his sound, though. That's the thing I like about his last few albums, is he always seems to really want to switch up his sound with every album he makes. So yeah, I was really impressed by Starboy. I really enjoyed this. My number 1 favorite Weeknd album is After Hours. I'm going to be frank with you guys. My top 10 favorite albums of 2020, I put this at 8. I really loved it. But I think upon rethought, re-listen, I would move it up to like all the way into my top 5 at number 4. Right behind Man on the Moon 3, Miles, and Circles. This got so much better upon re-listen because I moved it up to an A. I moved this up in rating. I really love After Hours. This is one of my new favorite R&B records ever. It's just so well put together. I'm talking like just the themes. It felt just so much time was put into this, and he just wanted to make it so perfect. Some of these tracks, just the way his voice just feels so soft and nice. You can just eviscerate in it. And some of the verses, like some of these verses are just incredible, man. Specifically the Save Your Tears in Your Eyes, Blinding Lights, which might be the biggest hit in the history of like modern music. As a whole, though, just After Hours just worked for me so well. The 80s aesthetic, but also combining an R&B and pop aesthetics to it. It's just a great album. If you haven't heard After Hours, please do. I think it's the best Weeknd project to date. I love this, and I really feel bad for not moving it to moving it to an A till now. I love this. This is a fantastic project, and as a whole, the Weeknd, he just killed it, man. He just killed it. After Hours is my favorite. Really, as a whole, though, I really do enjoy every Weeknd project. There's none I dislike. I just don't love Thursday. What do you guys think of my ranking on the Weeknd? Let me know in the comment section below. I guess that's it for this episode. I don't know much else to say. It's my longest episode yet. It's not by a ton my longest episode, but I definitely had a lot to get through today. Mainly to get through that Eminem discography, which I didn't expect to take, 30 minutes to get through. That was long. But, yeah, 35 minutes to get through. As a whole, though, I I like this. Next week I'll do another episode. I think it's gonna be shorter though. I think it will probably be my shortest yet. I don't really feel like making another big hour episode again. Who knows? It'll depend on what I really have topic wise. I won't have as much new listens there. There won't be as much new music to talk about. But I think next week I'll review Sound Ancestors and Doc D. I need to get to give you my thoughts on those projects out, so I'll review those next time, give them a rating, give you guys my opinions on them. I'm excited to do it. As a whole, though, that's everything for today's episode. Don't have anything else to say. See you guys next time. Please subscribe to the channel. We have new videos coming out way more frequently now. I'm going to try my best to just get these videos out to you more. And I just need good albums to review. I just don't want any stupid or weak albums to come out now. And I'm going to start doing more reactions now. I'm going to start doing more like track reactions because as a whole, not only track reactions, but I might do another album reaction. Next time there's a really exciting album for me, I'll do like a track reaction for it. Specifically, like, I don't know how to say it. There will be tracks that I will get out. I don't know when the next time there will be an album that I'm really excited for come out, but who knows? February could be great. If there's a new Drake anytime soon, I'll do that, or new J. Cole. But what do you guys think on my podcast? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace out and bye.